We congratulate all of our doctoral candidates and join with you, their families, and friends in celebration this weekend as we share sincere pride in our graduates' achievement. To begin our program, let me introduce Jeffrey Brand, Associate Dean for Graduate Studies, who will extend his greetings to all of our doctoral candidates. Dean Brand.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this doctoral hooding ceremony in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences at the George Washington University. I'm honored to be addressing you on this joyous occasion as we recognize and celebrate the achievements of our candidates for the Doctor of Psychology and Doctor of Philosophy. Doctoral candidates, you are on the verge. You're going to become doctors. And it's a great title, doctor. I've learned there are times you want to make a big deal out of it and times you don't. I'm going to let you figure out for yourself which is which. But I will say that if you have a relative, like a great-grandmother, who's always wanted you to become that other kind of doctor, a medical doctor, it's okay for her friends to, for her to tell her friends that you're a doctor. She's not lying. Just let her do it. So much lies ahead for all of you. Some of you are bound for academic positions, others for clinical practice, postdoctoral fellowships, or positions in industry, government, or consulting. Some of you will become entrepreneurs or public intellectuals. And some of you are probably planning to kick back, enjoy a long, lazy summer, and then begin another doctoral degree in September. Don't laugh, some of you are planning to do this. We know who you are, and we have trained people stationed at the exits to take you into custody at the end of the ceremony for your own protection. Now that you've spent all this time on one subject, some people are going to assume that you're on a clearly defined path. Your future's set, no more surprises. But they're wrong. Your doctorate gives you options. It gives you perspective. It gives you skills and judgment and knowledge. But most of our lives take some unexpected turns. Today, I'm a philosophy professor. When I was young, I wanted to be a computer programmer. Luckily, computers turned out to be a passing fad, so I guess I made a good call there. As a teenager, I wanted to be an actor or a playwright. And if you'd asked me as a teenager, what's the dullest, dumbest, most pointless subject on earth, I'd have said philosophy. But then I went to college and took some philosophy courses, and I decided I wanted a PhD in philosophy. But I also knew the job market for philosophers was, let's say, not spectacularly good. And I knew people with PhDs in philosophy often ended up without steady work. And then sometimes they went to law school. And I thought to myself, I'm probably going to end up as one of those unemployed philosophers, so maybe I should just get the law degree out of the way early on. That will be less depressing than finishing a PhD and having to start law school. And around the same time, I took a class in jurisprudence and discovered I actually liked the area of philosophy that deals with law. So I applied to universities that would allow you to get both a PhD and a law degree at the same time. And I finished my law degree first, and I was working part-time for a law firm in Chicago and trying to write my doctoral dissertation at the same time. That turned out to be a really bad idea. And I realized I had to decide whether to move back to my home campus and try to focus on my dissertation, or stay in Chicago and become a full-time lawyer. And I remember looking at the Chicago skyline and thinking about how much I would miss it, but also feeling in my heart that I'd always regret it if I didn't give that darn PhD a chance. So I left Chicago, returned to campus, finished my dissertation, and applied for hundreds of faculty positions all over the world. And I mean all over the world. I applied for jobs in Singapore, South Africa, Beirut. And I had some interviews, and I received no job offers. Nothing. And April arrived, which is the end of the academic hiring season, and I had no job and a family to support. So I started interviewing at law firms again, and I was sad. I was awfully sad because I knew if I started working full-time at a law firm, I'd probably never have time to write and publish, and so that was the end for me. My dream of an academic career was effectively dead. So I was interviewing with law firms, trying to convince them I was really excited about being a lawyer, which I wasn't. And then one day I got a phone call. It was really late in the season, long after most academic jobs were filled. One phone call from one small, obscure state university with a very heavy teaching load in a very cold and remote Midwestern town I couldn't find on a map, 1,000 miles from everyone I knew. But they wanted me, and I took the job. And I'll always be grateful to them because they gave me a chance. If it weren't for their faith in me, I probably wouldn't be in academia today. So you never know what's going to happen. New opportunities arise, new challenges present themselves. You'll have surprises, misfortunes, unexpected discoveries, epiphanies, personal and intellectual. But however uncertain the future may be, at this moment today, there are some things I think we can say about you, whatever your discipline, whatever your future plans. The first thing we can say is that you've accomplished something immensely difficult. And I hope the next time you're about to start something big and challenging, and you're not sure if you can see it through, you'll always say to yourself, well, I finished my doctorate, so I bet I can do this. Another thing I can say about you is that you've earned the right to call yourself an expert in something. Of course, there's many ways to acquire expertise. Pursuing a doctorate is only one way, but it's a special one. By earning a doctorate, you've demonstrated the ability and dedication needed to contribute to the fund of publicly available knowledge in your dissertation or major area paper. Obviously, you're likely to use your newly recognized expertise to excel in your chosen field. But there's something else expertise can do for you, I believe. Acquiring real expertise in one area, however specialized it may be, can and should give you appreciation for expertise wherever it may be found. Your expertise should instill in you a kind of intellectual humility. And perhaps not just intellectual humility, perhaps simply humility. The American humorist Will Rogers once said, "There is nothing so stupid as an educated man if you get him off the thing he was educated in." You are now very educated women and men, but I hope you won't be the stupid kind. And I hope that if you are like that, you'll at least recognize your own limitations and respect the expertise of others, even when the other people don't have as many fancy letters after their name as you do and don't get to call themselves doctor. That's one of the things I've come to appreciate more fully as a dean over the past 4 years. In closing, I want to extend heartfelt congratulations to all of you, the doctoral candidates in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences for 2017-18. It's been my honor and pleasure to serve as your graduate dean for the past 4 years, and I wish you all every success and happiness in the years ahead.
Thank you, Dean Brand. It is now my pleasure to call upon Dean Ben Vinson III to offer formal good wishes and deliver his charge to today's doctoral candidates. This weekend, Dean Vinson will deliver his last charge to an Arts and Sciences graduating class at GW, as he will be leaving to assume the position of Provost and Academic Vice President at Case Western Reserve University. Thank you, Ben, for your ideas and energy that you brought to this enterprise and for your commitment to academic excellence. We salute you and wish you much success in your new endeavor. And now, Dean Vinson, I am pleased to present to you the doctoral candidates of the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences, the class of 2018.
Thank you so much, Dr. King. Thank you, Jeff, also for those very moving words about the path forward for our doctoral candidates. Distinguished members of the faculty, Dr. King, doctoral candidates, family, and friends, it is an absolute honor to be standing here before you to participate in what is not only an important part of our commencement exercises, but also an incredibly significant moment in the lives of our candidates. To the best of our knowledge, it was at some obscure moment in the 12th or 13th century that almost no one can now recall, when the practice of conferring a doctoral hood was adopted for the first time in the dark days of medieval Europe. Hooding was a mark of distinction and recognition. These were the days when teachers, scholars, and professors also took ecclesiastical vows. They were tonsured. They wore skull caps to cover their partially shaved heads. The long, flowing gowns kept scholars warm as they worked and read in their alcoves and studies, sometimes in frigid temperatures. An academic's dress mimicked that of clerics, and what academics wore was a symbol of learnedness in a time when knowledge was held by precious few. The hood was something like a peacock's feathers, intended to inspire awe, to impress onlookers, to see what other people might not otherwise see: one's education and one's pedigree in society. A hood was visible knowledge. In the 14th century, the practice of hooding and the wearing of academic regalia was stepped up a notch in England, when universities having distinct caps, gowns, and hoods and different colors that were based upon academic disciplines were used. One's academic regalia also varied according to academic rank and achievement. Undergraduates typically wore black gowns with beaver-backed hoods or hoods of wool. Accomplished professors with doctoral degrees wore silk-backed hoods or beautiful hoods that were lined in fur. In the 18th century, the practice of wearing academic regalia and being hooded hopped the pond and became a feature here in the United States. As far as we know, we think that the American practice of wearing regalia started at Columbia University before catching on elsewhere. Many faculty in the 19th century were expected to teach in their gowns and their hoods. When I joined the faculty at Johns Hopkins in the early 2000s, I still remember a renowned professor of Latin American history, the late John Russell Wood, originally from Wales, who had been known for teaching in his hood and his full academic regalia. But what exactly is a hooding ceremony? It is an event that is steeped in symbolism and pageantry. It is emblematic of the passing of the guard and the passing of knowledge from one generation of doctors to the next. It encapsulates a moment in time when you've accomplished all you can as a student. It is your turn to confer knowledge. It is your turn to advance your field, to move beyond intellectual frontiers. The hood symbolizes the power of knowledge, the power of creativity, and its transformative force to improve the world through your work. I can recall the moment when I reached this moment in my own life, my own doctoral hooding. Dean Eduardo Macano of the graduate school at Columbia University gathered all of us in the university chapel. Our family and friends were in the audience, standing as witnesses, and after a solemn ceremony, we received our hood and a handshake, and the moment happened. The hoods were on, and we were then doctors. Some looked overjoyed. Others, quite frankly, looked dead tired from the work that it took to get there. Others were anxious. And for some reason that I can't explain, I still don't know why to this day, when I look back at pictures of myself at this moment, I was wearing a smirk. And I have no idea what that was all about, but I do know one thing, that our hooding was the end of one journey, a seemingly endless one from the trenches of the dissertation, the dungeons of our field exam, to the oasis of research and the carousel of classes along the way. The hooding was an endpoint, but it was also a new beginning. You may very well be where I was, fidgety about what's next. The PhD was not and is not the end of your story. Your hoods represent your opportunity, your tomorrow, which will be as awe-inspiring as the colors you now wear. Receiving your doctoral hood from GW places you in some very distinguished company. A little-known fact about the Columbian College is that it was one of the first PhD granting institutions in the United States. The college's first Doctor of Philosophy degree was awarded to two already sitting faculty members, Professor of Latin Andrew Montague and Professor of Mathematics and German James Howard Gore. The graduates who followed them were impressive. They include Ralph Alpher, the world-renowned physicist and publisher of the Big Bang Theory, who received his PhD from the Columbian College in 1948. Julius Axelrod, the Nobel laureate and celebrated NIH research neuroscientist, who graduated from the Columbian College in 1955 with a doctorate in pharmacology. Our more recent graduates include a distinguished member of our faculty here today, Lisa Bolig, a professor of applied social psychology at the Columbian College, whose groundbreaking research is providing new insights on HIV prevention and interventions based on racial, class, and gender identities. Today, we now add you to this list of greats. All of us are so impressed with the research that you've worked on here during your years at GW. Looking ahead, many of you will follow in your faculty's footsteps and choose paths in academia, but others may not. Wherever your tomorrow takes you, remind yourself that you are more prepared for the road ahead. You are more prepared for understanding and controlling your destiny than you can possibly imagine. As a doctoral student, you've taken extraordinary journeys from the classroom to the laboratory and maybe to sites around the world. You've written formulas, you've analyzed policy, you've deciphered our evolutionary past, you've delved into the inner workings of the brain, you've searched for ways to mitigate climate change, you've rewritten history. The collective moments that you've experienced at GW and the connections that you've made, these are the things you'll continue to draw upon as you move forward. Whatever path you choose, value what you bring to the table. Don't take for granted your capacity to transform knowledge. You've collected a rich reservoir of deep knowledge that may help change a life, touch a community, impact the world. Continue to hone and draw from the depths of your expertise. Be the change makers, the creators, the discoverers, the innovators, the leaders that will help push society forward. All of your years of study have brought you to this moment, and we pause to collectively salute you. Please remember that your GW experience does not end with graduation. We all hope that you come back to campus to stay connected with GW and the Columbian College. Derive support from our faculty, connect with our network of fellow alumni, and give back if you can by mentoring a student, supporting a project, or engaging in collaborations. Today, we all want to extend a hearty congratulations to all of you. Good luck, graduates.
Thank you, Dean Vinson. It is now our pleasure to introduce one by one your sons and daughters, spouses, parents, and special friends whose noble achievement we celebrate today with the presentation of their doctoral hood. In order that none of the names of the honorees will get lost, we ask that you withhold your most exuberant good wishes until all of the graduates have been presented, at which time we will join together in saluting all. As each of the doctoral candidates is introduced, they will be joined by their faculty mentor or advocate who will assist the dean in hooding the candidate. And now, as Dean Vinson takes his place in the front of the podium, let me ask the marshals to please bring the candidates forward to the stage. Again, please hold your more spirited congratulations until all have been presented.
The candidates for the Doctor of Psychology: Elias Hani Bargash, hooded by Professor Loring Ingram. Lauren Hammond Cross, hooded by Professor Catherine Marshall Woods. Jennifer Goldman, hooded by Professor Paul Guedo. Eileen K. Griffin, hooded by Professor Catherine Marshall Woods. Mariana Levy Sparonis, hooded by Professor Sarah Headland. Abby LePage, hooded by Professor Loring Ingram. For the Doctor of Philosophy, Rosemary M. Onjiko, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Peter Nemish. Ashini Panditaratna, Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Javad Nazarian. Allison L. Quattrini, Political Science, hooded by Professor Henry Hale. For the Doctor of Psychology, Avi David Margulies, hooded by Professor Shari Marmarosh. Doctor of Psychology, Yan Ni, hooded by Professor Loring Ingram. Doctor of Psychology, Megan Norman, hooded by Professor Paul Guedo. Doctor of Psychology Laura Wright Reed. Doctor of Psychology Lauren Sable, hooded by Professor James Sexton. Doctor of Psychology Samuel Isaac Salomon, hooded by Professor Richard Ruth. Doctor of Psychology Melanie Swellew, hooded by Professor Sarah Headland. Doctor of Psychology Rebecca Michelle Stein. Doctor of Psychology Brooke Stroud Carno, hooded by Professor Loring Ingram. Doctor of Psychology Zishan Huang, hooded by Professor James Sexton. For the Doctor of Philosophy, Chloe Amen, Anthropology, hooded by Professors Ilana Feldman and Joel Kuipers. Nan An, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Adelina Vochkova-Kostal. Jessica L. Anderson, Political Science, hooded by Professor Michael Barnett. Tanya Ravi Azar, English, hooded by Professors Kavita Daya and Judith Plotz. How are you? Victoria Barnett Woods and guest. English, hooded by Professors Tara Wallace and Daniel DeWispelaire. Harpreet Bedi, mathematics, hooded by Professors Valentina Harazanov and Yongwoo Rong. Olga G. Bespalova, economics, hooded by Professor Robert Phillips. Konstantin R. Burgi, economics, hooded by Professor James Foster. Gabrielle Bachowski, English, hooded by Professor Jonathan Hsu. Xiaoyu Tsai, statistics, hooded by Professor Feifeng Hu. Brianna M. Carter, psychology, cognitive neuroscience, hooded by Professor Sarah Shamstein. Shomak Chatterjee, statistics, hooded by Professor Subrata Kundu. Diti Chatterjee Bomik, biochemistry and systems biology, hooded by Professor Alexander Jeremik. Akani Clark, molecular medicine, hooded by Professor Javad Nazarian. Meredith Coates, industrial organizational psychology, hooded by Professor David Costanza. Andrew Collegio, psychology, cognitive neuroscience, hooded by Professor Sarah Shamstein. Uliana Sorakopud Kubeta, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Vladislav Sajenko. Theodora Dundyelevich, English, hooded by Professor Robert McCrore. Berhan T. Demisi, hooded by Professor Harold Greishammer. Catherine E. Densford, History, hooded by Professor Hugh Agnew. Matthew Finn, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Adelina Vuchkova-Kostal. Bradley Finnegan, Public Policy and Administration, hooded by Professor Leighton Koo. Dehua Guo, Physics, hooded by Professor Andrei Alexandru. Pasley Hargrove, Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Anand Swarup. Matthew G. Hitchens, Psychology, Cognitive Neuroscience, hooded by Professor Sarah Shamstein. Bin Hu, Physics, hooded by Professor Michael Doring. Helen Huang, Statistics, hooded by Professor Feifeng Hu. Sunyoung Huang, Clinical Community Psychology, hooded by Professor Christina G. Michael F. Joseph, Political Science, hooded by Professor Charles Glazer. Yen Ka, Physics, hooded by Professors Weikun Peng and Alexandros Tsatsos. Stephen Kenny, Clinical Community Psychology, hooded by Professor George Howe. Justin L. Mann, American Studies, hooded by Professor Melanie McAllister. Shyama Rajendran, English, hooded by Professor Jonathan Shu. Cristal W. Ramos, Public Policy and Administration, hooded by Professor Bert Barno. Alexander Reisenbichler, Political Science, hooded by Professor Henry Farrell. Jason D. Russ, Economics, hooded by Professor Arun Malik. Farzana T. Salim, Clinical Community Psychology, hooded by Professor Sharon Lambert. Shreyoshi Sarkar, English, hooded by Professors Melanie McAllister and Kavita Daya. Kimberly P. Schisler, American Studies, hooded by Professor Melanie McAllister. Congratulations. Josh Siegel, History, hooded by Professor Muriel Atkin. Hannah M. Snyder, Clinical Community Psychology, hooded by Professor Mimi Lay. Camille A. Sola, Public Policy and Administration, hooded by Professor Donna Infeld. Hannah Solomon Schwartz, Political Science, hooded by Professor James Lebovich. David B. Stern, Biological Sciences, hooded by Professor Keith Crandall. Sylvia Stopka, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Akos Vertes. Kelsey F. Sugru, Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Irene Zone. Robert G. Serbella, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Christopher Cahill. Amelia Villasenor, Human Paleobiology, hooded by Professor Anna Berensmeyer. Ken Vincent, Political Science, hooded by Professor Charles Glazier. Hakeem J. Walker, Mathematics, hooded by Professor Valentina Harazanov. Zhong Wang, Statistics, hooded by Professor Feifeng Hu. Fan Wang, Statistics, hooded by Professor Feifeng Hu. Su Wang, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Cynthia Dowd. Catherine M. Wright, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Michael Messiah. Shruti K. Yadav, Biological Sciences, hooded by Professor Tara Scully. Otian Young, Statistics, hooded by Professor Ching Pan. Biao Young, Statistics, hooded by Professor Jonathan Stroud. In Xingfei, History, hooded by Professor Greg Brzezinski. Cheng Zhang, Statistics, hooded by Professor Tapan Nayak. Linwen Zhang, Chemistry, hooded by Professor Akos Vertes. Hang Dro, Economics, hooded by Professor Jay Shamba. And Teddy Zuckerman, Clinical Community Psychology, hooded by George Howe.
Congratulations to all of our doctoral candidates. Please be seated. Graduates, please remember to wear your Columbian College medal Sunday at the National Mall, and when you are introduced and recognized by the Dean, I trust that you will let everyone in Washington know that you are present. A sincere note of thanks to those who helped make today special for our graduates, including the staff in the Dean's office and Lisner Auditorium, and especially Dean Brand for the introduction of our candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, as you leave the building, please be mindful of your safety and that of your party. You will be exiting onto a busy street full of city traffic. Rather than linger for photos and greetings outside the building, we recommend that you move to another space nearby, for example, the University Yard or Kogan Plaza or one of the sheltered buildings, the Marvin Center or Corcoran Hall. To close our program, we ask everyone to join in the singing of the GW Alma Mater, led by Professor Millicent Scarlett, the words and music of which you will find at the end of your program. Immediately thereafter, the Dean will lead the faculty and the graduates from the auditorium. We will appreciate your kindness in remaining in your places until the conclusion of the program and the Dean's party, the faculty, and graduates have left the auditorium. Would you now please rise?
Knowledge thy close Thank